Welcome to Ask the Expert with noted radio host Steve Sleeper. Each week, Steve interviews entrepreneurs and professionals and shares their intriguing stories of success and service. Now, here's radio veteran Steve Sleeper.
And welcome to another edition of Ask the Expert. And on today's program, I'm going to be speaking with Karen Ulmer Pendergast with the Karen and Ulmer Law Firm in Pennsylvania. Karen, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Good. Hey, Karen, tell me a little bit about yourself and your firm.
Well, I handle a family law firm founded in 2000, and then I branched out just on my own in 2001. We handle family law, which would be custody, divorce, support, protection from abuse, prenup, stuff like that. And we have added to our practice a real estate law component, as well as handling estates and probate and wills and things of that nature.
Okay. And you have 3 offices in Pennsylvania, don't you? Did I see that correctly?
We have 2 offices.
We
have an office in 2 offices, one in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, which is in the lower part of Bucks County, and we also have a office that's near the courthouse in Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
Alrighty, okay. And, when we talk about family law, I guess the first thing I think of is divorce. And what are the grounds for divorce in Pennsylvania?
Well, primarily people get divorced under no-fault grounds in Pennsylvania, and there's 2 kinds of no-fault grounds. One is where the parties have been separated for a period of 2 years, don't need consent by the party that wants a divorce from the other side, so it could be a 2-year separation. The other no-fault grounds for divorce is after service of the complaint, the parties can mutually agree that they want a divorce and sign consent 90 days after the divorce complaint was served. Now, the grounds for divorce is just grounds. You still need to either come to an agreement or go to court in order to get your final decree. There are still fault grounds on the books, but generally people do not use those fault grounds because there are the 2 no-fault grounds for divorce.
Okay. Talk about alimony. Does that still exist, or tell me about that?
A lot of clients are under the misunderstanding that alimony doesn't exist anymore, but it is a remedy here in Pennsylvania, and it is a remedy for the spouse who was the dependent spouse during the marriage, the one that either stayed at home or just by virtue of incomes relied on the other party's income in order to meet their needs during the marriage. So the person that's going to be entitled to alimony is that person. In Pennsylvania, it would cut off if you cohabitate or if you remarry, provided that you put that in your agreement, or if it goes to court, that is Pennsylvania law, that under those circumstances it would cut off.
Okay. Now, how about child support? Is that still prevalent? And if so, how is it calculated?
Well, child support is obviously still prevalent for the party that has the child. So as courts are getting closer to a 50-50 custody situation, you can still get child support in those situations. In that type of situation, it would be the parent who earns less money that would be entitled to support. If you have the child more than half the time, that would be the party that would definitely be entitled to support regardless of incomes. But it is a different type of calculation than alimony. It's done on a guideline. So there are charts out there, and it's based on household income, which is why one family might pay more in child support even though they have the same number of children than another family, because it factors in both mothers' and fathers' incomes into the support equation, and then how many children they have, as well as the cost of health insurance, the cost of school, some other factors that go in there.
Okay. Now, custody, I remember a time when it was almost always mom. Is it still mom that gets custody? Is it joint? What are you seeing?
I'm seeing a trend more towards joint or a more increased shared type of situation. The law is gender neutral, so there are plenty of fathers that have primary custody, and there's moms that have primary custody. But I see the trend as wanting both parents more involved. So, it seems to be the case that even on a where one person has primary custody, the other parent may have substantial partial custody, where they see the child more than what used to be the case of every other weekend. Those are the cases going to court, but of course many people agree to a traditional every other weekend type of schedule with a night for dinner. But litigating it, it seems to be the case that they want as much contact as possible with both parents.
And it really comes down to the kids, doesn't it, doing what's best for them?
Right. The standard is still the best interest of the children. So every case is unique because every family has a different set of circumstances, different work histories, different care providers throughout the child's life, and they want to try to keep as much stability as possible in the child's life, even though the parents aren't going to be together anymore.
Is mediation becoming more prevalent? And can you explain what that is as well?
Sure. I mean, I'm a mediator in Pennsylvania, and I also practice family law. So mediation it doesn't have to be an attorney. It can be anybody that's trained in mediation. It's when you try to resolve your case without going to court. Mediator doesn't tell you what to do, but they try to facilitate an agreement for you. It's a voluntary procedure, and everything that happens in mediation is confidential. If you can come to an agreement in mediation, it helps keep the costs of litigation down. So there are people that like to try that approach, and even if it doesn't result in a full agreement, it's usually a good idea to try to attempt to mediate some of your case because it may narrow down the issues in dispute.
Would this be a fair observation on my part about mediation? With a mediator, you get to spend time with them. They get to know you. The husband and wife who are getting divorced, they get to know all the situations, the kids. Not so much with the judge, maybe?
Well, mediation is really an out-of-court. I mean, there are some counties like Montgomery County where you have mandatory mediation, but in that situation, you're only going one time, so the mediator is really not getting that familiar with the parties. If you're doing a private mediation trying to resolve your issues, usually the children are not involved in that mediation. You don't usually bring the children to a custody mediation. You can bring attorneys, although a lot of times that impedes the ability to reach an agreement. So it's often encouraged that if you're going to mediate, that it's just the two parties. And the mediator, if you're mediating the whole case, will get to know the parties, but it's really the parties that are trying to come to a decision. So it's not as important, that relationship with the mediator, because that mediator has to remain neutral.
Okay, I see. I understand. What should we look for in a family attorney, a family lawyer?
I think experience in family law is essential because there's a lot of nuances in the law that someone that just dabbles in family law probably might not be up to par on. So you want to definitely have someone that has a background in family law, that it's a substantial part of their practice because they're going to be up on the case law and the application of the case law. And then you want to make sure that you have someone that has some experience in your local county, because there are differences between each of the counties in Pennsylvania, and knowing those differences sometimes helps in a case, as well as the relationships with the other attorneys in that county. Okay.
And you do have two offices in Pennsylvania. How can we reach you, Karen?
Well, we're available 24/7 through the web. That's the best way to reach us, is to contact us by email. My personal email is kupendergast@ulmerlaw.com, but you can also go to our website at ulmerlaw.com, fill out a form, and we will get that email. Another way to reach us would be to call our office at 215-752-6200. If you call that number, we have staff that is answering the phone Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30, and they can take the information, set up an appointment. And if you call after hours, you can leave a message and the call will be returned. I mean, we are accessible. We have a Facebook page. We have a LinkedIn page. We're on Google+. There's many mediums to be able to reach us if you have questions. And we do have clients that use different sources of mediums. I get messaged on Facebook. I'll get messages on LinkedIn. I will get text messages from people, and as well as the traditional person that calls and wants to meet in person.
And probably the easiest way to find you is just Google Karen Ann Ulmer with one L, and you can see all those different mediums, the website, the Facebook, however you want to communicate, and also the website again is ulmerlaw.com. Hey, Karen, thanks for being on Ask the Expert today. I appreciate it. This has been good information.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Karen Ulmer Pendergast with Karen Ann Ulmer, the Karen Ann Ulmer PC, Karen Ann Ulmer Law Offices in Pennsylvania. And that's another Ask the Expert.
Thanks for listening to Ask the Expert with Steve Sleeper. Join us next time as entrepreneurs and professionals share their intriguing stories of success and service.